Madagascar was one of the last places on Earth to be reached by human beings. They didn't get here till around 2,000 years ago, and then, of course, there were just a few hundred. 50 years ago, there were around 6 million. Today, there are 20 million. Was it human beings who exterminated much of the island's animals? The elephant bird as well as the giant lemurs? Did they perhaps hunt them for food? One of the ways that you can tell whether or not human beings hunted an animal is to look at the animal's bones. This is the bone of an extinct lemur that dates from about 2,000 years ago, when human beings first came to this island. And when you look at it, you can see at the top there, cut marks. So we know that this lemur was killed, or at least eaten, by human beings who cut the flesh away from the bone with some kind of knife. But the interesting thing is, although we also find elephant bird bones, hardly a one of the elephant bird bones have cut marks. So we can't really blame the disappearance of the elephant bird on hunters. The country's capital is Tananarivo, or Tana, as the locals call it. And the place to go if you want to find out about the island's natural history is obviously its museum. It had stuffed examples of some of the animals I already knew something about. But I also found a mounted skeleton of the huge bird that interests me so much. One of the very few that exists. So, how tall was the elephant bird? Not an easy question to answer, because very few skeletons are totally complete. And so many of the mounted specimens have been put together with a number of bones from different specimens. And if you get over-enthusiastic, maybe it's quite possible that you stick in one or two extra neck bones. So we can't be sure about the length of the neck, nor can we be sure about the posture, really. This one looks to me rather front-heavy, and it could well be that in life the animal was more upright, in which case it stood very tall indeed, 10 feet, 12 feet, that sort of size, in order to be able to reach the leaves of trees on which it browsed. But a more safe characteristic is weight, and you can be fairly sure the estimates of that. And it's reckoned that the elephant bird weighed around half a ton. The extinct moas of New Zealand might perhaps have been taller, but this was certainly the heaviest bird that ever existed. And of course it was flightless, like an ostrich. Here in the basement of the archaeological department at Oxford University, there's a carbon dating apparatus which can accurately find the age of ancient objects, natural and man-made. It's a complicated process involving all kinds of very sophisticated techniques, but I've been told that Thomas Hyam, who took the sample from my egg, has got a result. You took a tiny bit of this, I know.
A very small amount from the back.
And tell me, come on, what's the answer?
Well, our date suggests that this egg is 1,300 years old.
No.
Yes. Yep.
Say it again,
1,300 years old.
And that puts it at what date?
About 600 to 700 AD.
And did that surprise you?
I thought it was quite a lot younger than I thought it would be, actually. And I say that, I did, and I say that because I checked back on all of the other eggshell dates that we've dated from Madagascar, from the species, and the youngest date that we've ever got is about 900 AD. Here is 600 AD, 800 AD, and your dates are these ones that just sit in here, and these are the youngest ones.
So it's quite a recent one in terms of...
It is, indeed.
So this, in fact, was one of the last of the elephant bites?
I think within 100 to 200 years, perhaps yes.
Huh. The chick that came out of this was one of the last.
absolutely amazing.
When do you think it disappeared?
I think somewhere before 1000 AD it was extinct, largely extinct, yeah.
So there we have it. My egg is 1300 years old, and one of the most recent eggs of its kind that the university has dated. I'm on my way to the west of the island, where a few small patches of that ancient forest still remain. These strange, beautiful trees, baobabs, are fire-resistant and too big to cut down. So, in many places, they are the only remnants left of the original forest that once covered this land. It would have been difficult for a creature the size of an elephant bird to live without vegetation of some kind, and today even the smallest of animals are struggling to survive here. One of those that have managed to do so is the tiniest of all known lemurs. It's called Madame Berth's mouse lemur, and it was only discovered 10 years ago. Melanie Damhaan is part of a team of scientists who are studying the animal, trying to work out how to protect it. Oh, tiny, tiny.
Tiny, tiny. Just only 30 gram body weight.
Yeah. Smallest primate in the world?
Smallest primate in the world. Big eyes, small ears.
Very big eyes.
Yeah.
And a wet nose.
Yeah.
Yeah. Melanie and her colleagues catch these lemurs and tag them to build up a picture of their behaviour, essential knowledge if they're to be properly protected. And how long will he have been in there now?
A few hours.
That all?
So we collect him at night, and then he stays in camp and sleeps in there, and then release him in the next
And
day.
you've caught him how many times?
Maybe around 20.
So he's accustomed
3 years.
to it?
He's accustomed to it.
And do they travel very far?
They travel very far. They have like
Really?
3 hectare home range, so that's quite a bit for an animal like that.
Certainly is.
Yeah. They might even run like 5 kilometers a night.
Really?
Yeah, an animal like that. I think that's
amazing.
Amazing, yeah.
Okay, let's see him go.
It's coming.
Come on. Come on, little one. That's it, that's it. Sure. The work Melanie and her team are doing is vital for the survival of this little lemur. It's also revealing just why it is that this tiny creature lives here and nowhere else. This particular liana belongs to a species that only grows in this patch of forest. And on it, and on no other kind of liana, lives this little insect. It's a bug, which feeds by sticking its mouthparts into the liana and sucking out the sap. It then digests what it wants and excretes the rest as honeydew, a sort of sugary liquid. And it's that honeydew, that sugar, that Madame Berth's lemur needs in its diet. So Madame Berth's lemur is only found in this particular patch of the forest because of this insect and this liana, which just shows how complicated ecological connections can be and how much you have to know about an animal if you're really going to conserve it. So why did the elephant bird disappear? It could have been climate change, which turned much of its land into desert. It could have been that people destroyed the forests where it browsed. I doubt if it was hunted to extinction. Anyone who's seen an ostrich in a zoo knows it's got a kick that can open a man's stomach. And an enraged elephant bird, many of the times the size of an ostrich, must have been a truly formidable opponent. I suspect it was these, its egg. They may not have been able to tackle an adult bird, but they could take its eggs, which were a huge source of nourishment. And so I think it's probably these are the reason why the elephant bird is no longer here. Even if the bird itself was held in awe, or maybe fear, by the people here, they might not have had too much trouble in robbing it of its huge, nutritious eggs. So, although there were several factors threatening the bird's survival, It could have been people eating the eggs who dealt the species its final blow. Today, we've come to realize that if you want to preserve a species, you have to preserve the whole community of plants and animals. Some people here are trying to tackle that problem. Rainer Dolch manages one such group in Indre country. I asked him how much forest remained.
As we speak, it's very fragmented. Unfortunately, in this particular area, we have almost no continuous forest anymore. This is a fragment of about 800 hectares. One crucial issue for conservation is to link these fragments with each other so that there could be genetic exchange between plant and animal species that live there.
So if they remained as fragments, really, the inhabitants, the animal inhabitants, are doomed, huh?
Yeah, that's pretty much the case, and there is studies concerning the Indre, for instance, saying that a minimum size for a forest in which the Indre can survive is about 1,000 to 1,200 hectares.
So you have to link them up.
Exactly.
And how are you doing it?
Well, one thing that we try to do is actually re-establish the rainforest in between these fragments by planting trees that we actually raise in this nursery here from the seeds that we collect in the forest.
And how's it going? How many are you replanting?
Well, we now have replanted an area of about 1,000 hectares. You ideally have at least 60 species per hectare that you plant. So this is kind of a hard work.
How many trees do you think you have planted?
If you take 1,000 trees per hectare as a rule of thumb, then this makes slightly more than 1 million trees now.
1 million trees in how many years?
That's in 3 years of planting.
Fantastic. 1 million in 3 years. That is a lot of trees.